The main problem with Chassis Saver or POR15 when you're using it is getting the damn lid off. And I was careful how I put this lid on here, and even using a little grease around the lid and wiping it off, it gets stuck. But I found out using these little glass jars like this is actually a vitamin jar, but it's a glass one with a screw-on lid, and I actually have tape around it, so it's an opaque glass so light doesn't go through it, plus I put black tape around it. But what I do is I put grease around the threads of the jar, and I've never had a problem getting the Chassis Saver out of that. So what I'm going to do is actually fill up a bunch of these jars, and actually I'm making a little platform, and I'll use the Chassis Saver to glue it to this piece of wood so that the jar doesn't knock over. I've never had a problem getting it out of there. So you know, you could buy a whole bunch of little cans of this POR15 or Chassis Saver. It's very expensive to buy it that way. You're paying less than half when you buy it by the gallon, if you're buying less versus buying little cans. But the problem is when you buy it by the gallon, I don't care how careful you are, you're going to have a problem with this stupid lid. It's such a strong paint, or whatever the hell it is, the lid will get stuck on here, and even if you're trying to pull it up with vice grips and a crowbar and stuff like that, you're not going to get it off. So what I'm doing is I'm going to take this screwdriver and I'm going to hammer it through the top with this little hammer here, and then I'm going to use a screwdriver to stir it up. Then I'm going to tape this funnel to the top of that and fill it up. Actually, I'm going to do a couple of those, and I'm going to use it that way. So this way you can make a whole bunch of these jars, and you have a whole bunch of little jars that you can use on hand. I've been using this like this for, I don't know, I guess a month now or so, with the jar, with unscrewing the lid. It never gets stuck. I put some grease on the threads. Now if I use this lid, it gets stuck no matter how careful I am. If you just get a little bit of paint on there, forget it, man. That thing is glued on there good. But I don't have a problem with that. So it's glass and plastic. Maybe it doesn't stick, but you got to use some grease. You got to use some grease. Now with this Chassis Saver stuff, they say not to shake it, so they say to stir it. So I'm going to use it this way. I'm going to stir it with this screwdriver. I got a big long screwdriver in here. When I take it out, I'll just wipe it off with a rag here, just to get it, you know, everything stirred up. And then I'll pour it out into that thing over there with the funnel. And that funnel basically is a little paper Dixie cup. It cut the bottom off, so it's disposable. And I just tape it on there with some masking tape. And you know, that's plenty good enough so I can pour it and out of the can. So I've already stirred it up really good in here. And you notice I punched a hole so the handle is on this side, so I could turn it and use the handle and pour it out. And then when it's done, all I have to do is put a bolt in here and tape over it, and that's it, and it'll be sealed up again. And this is probably the cheap way to get it. You want to actually buy a gallon of it and make all these little cans. It's a lot better to do it that way, these little jars. And when you use these jars, you grease the top of the lid up in here in the threads with some heavy grease, and they always work. And you can use those little disposable brushes, you know, that are made out of like foam, little foam brushes. They work perfect. They fit right in there. You just have to use a little wide mouth jar. They work great. And when I'm done with the can, I just put a screw in there. It's a bolt, and put some tape over it, and it's got some Chassis Saver around here. That Chassis Saver right around here will harden up and it'll seal it very well. And now this is filled right to the top. I've actually spilled these on the side, and I got the lids off. And I think maybe it's because it's a glass container with a plastic lid, and the grease, it comes off. So from now on, I'm going to buy gallons of this stuff in Chassis Saver. And when I first get it, what I'll do is I'll put them in all these little containers, and you can use the little 1-inch foam brushes, and you can open and close these containers a whole bunch of times, and there's no problem as long as the lid is greased. It may be because it's a glass container with a plastic lid. It may not work with a plastic container with a plastic lid, but this works like a charm, because I've actually knocked these over on the side and everything like that, and I still got the lids off, no problem. So it works very well. It works out very well. So that's the main problem with Chassis Saver and POR15, because when you buy all the little cans, you don't waste it, but it's at least twice as much money. This big gallon can of Chassis Saver was only $93. That's all it was. If you're buying it by the quart, it's $45. If you're buying it by the pint, it's even more than that. $45. In other words, you're paying $165, $175 or whatever the hell it is. Well, that would actually be $180 for a gallon if you buy it by the quart, versus $93 just buying a gallon. And if you buy small cans of it, it's even more. So this is the way to use it. Just use these little jars. So I think it's the glass though. It's the glass with the plastic lid. That works great.